Yo, what's going on? It's G Miners here, bringing you guys a complete Easter egg guide to Terminus Island in as quickly as possible. Let's go. First things first, you need to interact and defend 3 AMP devices for 30 seconds each without letting them take too much damage. It is impossible to miss these things. There is a giant orange star on your map. The first location is by spawn, second location right by jug, and then the third and final location is at the bottom of the map in the Bio Lab, which is perfect because after you complete that third one, you need to then dive into the water and activate the lift so that it pulls Pack-a-Punch up out of the water. For step number 2, all you need is one person with dead wire on any weapon. You can do this with 500 scrap and the use of an arsenal bench. After they have dead wire, they're going to activate the lift, go up, and shoot a series of electrical boxes just like I do. 2 of them do require you to be on the lift as it's moving, so make sure you hit these 2 relatively quickly. The rest are super easy, and it's going to eventually unlock a door to a secret room. For step number 3, we're going to be doing a couple of parts here, but first things first, enter that room that you just unlocked by shooting the electrical panels and kill the zombie trapped underneath the cabinet, which should drop an EMF fob part, which is one of the Beamsmasher parts. You're going to want to pick that up, and then after this, you should run around the map and activate 3 different laptops. These laptops also have some like antennas near them, and the first one is going to be located right outside the room where Stamina Up is. The second one is kind of on the other side of the map, right to the right of it, which is right by the Quick Revive perk location. And the third and final one is down towards the bottom of the map, right by Deadshot and where you can activate the boats. After you interact with all 3 laptops, their screens will go on, meaning you did it correctly. You don't need to note any of the information that they provide because that information will appear now on sticky notes back at the lab that you just opened through that secret door, and you're going to go and interact with the oscilloscope, which I'm doing here. On screen now, you're going to see 2 whiteboards, one on the left and one on the right. The left one, combined with the sticky notes on screen, is going to be kind of your key, and then the right one is going to be the equations that you need to solve in order to get 3 different numbers to enter into the oscilloscope to complete this next step. Just using my first 2 sticky notes as examples, you're going to see that X and Y have those shapes that are now associated with them, and those shapes are going to be appearing on the whiteboard to the left within a table. If we look at X specifically, that shape appears directly in the center of the table, which is represented by a row value with the number 1 and a column value with the number 1 as well. That means the value of X is 11. The first number you get from your row, the second number you get from the column, and they combine to make a 2-digit number. If we look at Y, that shape appears directly to the right of the shape that X has. And again, we're going to see that the row value is a 1, but now the column value is a 0, which means Y is 10. Once you have all 3 of your values, your X, your Y, and your Z, all you have to do is plug them into the equations on the other whiteboard and get 3 different numbers, 1 number for each equation, and then put those 3 numbers in the oscilloscope, and you'll complete this step. At this point in the game, we would typically need to go a couple more rounds until Peck gave us dialogue again, letting us know we could continue the Easter egg with what I'm calling step number 4. With step number 4, first things first, send a player back to the lab to interact with that oscilloscope, and it's going to show the location of one of the islands located around the outside of the map, which your team needs to go to. When you get to the island, you're going to notice a floating blue energy orb. Go up and interact with it, and it's going to spawn in purple-eyed zombies to the island. What you're going to want to do is train them up, because after 30 seconds to a minute, the orb is going to pick one of the zombies at random, zap them with a beam, give them kind of this glowing effect, which means that's the zombie you need to kill. Kill that zombie, pick up the sphere that it drops, and deposit that sphere into the orb. Then repeat that exact same process 1 more time for 2 total deposits, and then pick up the part that the energy orb drops. When you pick that part up, the orb is going to float into the sky and go to a second island where it's going to now be green. You repeat the exact same process over again, but instead of 2 deposits, it's going to be 3 deposits this time. And then it'll move to a third and final island where it's purple. And for whatever reason, this time it's again just 2 deposits that you have to do. Pick up the third and final part, and then you've completed this step. You can go back to the lab and craft the Wonder Weapon. Once you have the Beamsmasher, take it down to the Bio Lab and activate the tentacle trap that is in between the Bio Lab and the tunnels that lead to PhD Flopper. For us, it was always this tentacle trap that we had to use. It might be different in your game, but just activate the trap and shoot it over and over again with the left click with the Beamsmasher, and a hard drive should drop out of it, completing step number 5. Step number 6 is super simple. Take that hard drive you just collected, bring it up to Strauss in the spawn area of the map, put it in that box that you can deliver things to him with, and then he's going to read the information off of it and tell you basically there's something in a capsule in the big center area of the biolab. Step number 7 just requires you to open the capsule by inputting a 3-digit code, but you have to get that code first, so let's go over how to do that. First things first, as you walk down by Quick Revive from the opposite side of spawn that you actually spawn in on, you're going to see a clock in that jail cell, which has a number represented by the hour hand. Just read the hour hand, and whatever number that is going to be your first digit, which would be 1 through 9. It should never be a 10, 11, or a 12. After that, you're going to walk into the cafeteria. On this kind of agenda board or pin board, there is a playing card. Whatever number that card is going to be your second number. And then third and finally, in the engineering room, you're going to see a poster that reports the days since the last incident. This should also be another single-digit number, which is going to be the third one you need for the keypad. Go down to the biolab and enter that in that order. And then after entering it, everyone in your game is going to need to then interact with one of the handles around the capsule to initiate a kind of first boss fight. For this mini boss fight, you're going to have to kill Nathan, who is an amalgamation. There are no mechanics, but do keep in mind if he consumes zombies near him, he will be healing. So for that reason, make sure you're pretty decently kitted for this fight. We have gotten into this fight really quickly before when we are very under-kitted, and we kind of got soft-locked because he just kept eating zombies and he was basically impossible to kill because we didn't have good guns. I'd recommend at least bringing in 1 single-packed ray gun, maybe 2 single-packed ray guns, or somebody with a double-packed ray gun. That should make quick work of him. If you come in kitted, he's an absolute joke, but if you rush into this fight and are trying to speed run the Easter egg and you don't have pack-a-punched weapons, he's gonna be very hard to kill. After killing him real quick for step number 9, immediately just dive into the water and swim around until you find a really tiny glowing orange keycard. It's going to be at the bottom of the water in that biolab section. It won't be floating or anything like that. You have to actually swim down to the bottom. Just grab that because you're going to need that for a later step. And now we're moving on to step number 10, which requires you to go up into the communications room. To my knowledge, all you have to do is go into the room and activate the second computer by interacting with it. And it's going to just trigger some dialogue, which tells you your next step of the Easter egg, which is step number 11. It's just kind of an intermediate step. So don't forget to interact with this computer and wait for that dialogue to play out. For step number 11, we've basically found out we are missing 2 parts that we need to establish a connection with. So we got to go and collect those parts, which we're going to do at the underside of the shipwrecked boat, where we're going to see a ladder that goes up to a trap door. And now, because we have that access card, the trap door is going to open for us. Inside of this tiny little room, you're going to see a workbench with 2 parts that we need to collect. But as soon as you collect one of those 2 parts, it is going to trigger a lockdown sequence, locking your team out from the room. So make sure everybody climbs up the ladder. Otherwise, they won't be able to participate in the lockdown. The lockdown is going to take around 2 to 3 minutes. It's pretty casual, especially if you have a ray gun and like PhD flopper and you're just spamming it everywhere. And then after that, you're going to collect both of those fittings and take them to where we need to install them. In your game, you're going to have to deliver these connectors to 2 of 3 potential locations because one of them is already going to be pre-installed. The first location is on the island that is at the tail end of the boat. It's super easy to see. If it's missing a connection, obviously just hold F or interact to install it. After that, there is one at the bottom of the tower that contains the particle accelerator, also kind of the dock area where you summon your boat. And the third and final fitting location could potentially be by Speed Cola in that tunnel that leads to the biolab. After those connections are installed, you're going to go up to Strauss and grab a laptop that he gives you, which you're going to use to hack buoys. This is a timed event. I think you get like 2 minutes in total after you hack the first of 3 buoys. You have more than enough time. The only thing you need to look out for are any of the floating bugs that are trying to kill you while you do this, or the sea monsters. So we found it pretty useful to have one person boat around and kind of kite the sea monster away while somebody else was running around and hacking each of the 3 buoys. Then finally, for step number 14, Modi is basically going to retaliate because we disabled and resurfaced her sub, and she is going to trigger a detonation sequence in the biolab. You're going to have 4 minutes to disable 3 bombs in the biolab. These bombs are located around the outside of the arena in that section. They're behind all the doors that were originally locked. Those explosives take around 15 seconds to defuse, And you do want to make sure that somebody is protecting you as you defuse them, because there is an endless horde of zombies that is going to be spawning. After you disable all 3 bombs, the timed section is going to be disabled, and you'll now have another door in the biolab that you can interact with that is going to start the boss fight. The boss fight, in my opinion, can be pretty difficult if you come in underkitted, so I highly recommend having as many tier 3 packed ray guns as possible, having chopper gunners as your kill streak to melt the boss's health in its final phase, and then also having any means to revive your teammates from range and to keep their perks as possible. Having a self-res kit for yourself is good, healing aura is good, Phoenix up, near-death experience, things like that. In the first phase of the boss fight, you're going to want to shoot and focus the pimples on its shoulders and its neck. Doing so and breaking all 4 will then send it under the water. It'll resurface, and then now the crit spot will be on its kind of mouth, neck, chest area. The giant glowing red hole is where you want to shoot. After that, it's going to go under the water, submerge, resurface. Its tentacles are going to be glowing yellow, so you obviously want to focus its tentacles, break both of those, pop all the spores that are on its tentacles. It'll go under the water, resurface one final time, and this is the final phase where I highly recommend you use your chopper gunners to melt its health. During this phase, you want to deal damage by shooting its eyes if you're not in a chopper gunner, and then on top of that, there is also a wipe mechanic. The boss is going to summon a blue energy sphere above its head, and what you want to do to survive this wipe mechanic is just break line of sight. The wipe mechanic will start charging and take around 15 to 20 seconds to detonate. If you haven't broken line of sight by the time it detonates, you are going to die. So make sure you absolutely cannot see the boss and it can't see you. That is it for the video and the Easter egg, guys. Let me know in the comments down below if this video helped you out. And if it did, dropping a like and a sub helps me out a ton. I also stream over on Twitch and here on YouTube if you guys ever want to watch live. Peace.